Well, it happened. The 49ers fall short, getting their first loss of the season in week 4 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They take the loss 26-21. And boy, it was just a bad game. It kind of felt like this team didn't deserve to win. The opening drive was all right. The Niners, they went downfield, didn't get in the end zone because the red zone offense is atrocious. Let's put it point blank. Period. The red zone offense this season has looked horrendous. I'm not entirely sure the exact number percentage. Frankly, I didn't care to check because you can just watch from the eye test. They get in the red zone, and I don't know if it's Kyle Shanahan or if it's the players out there, but regardless, whoever's out there can't get it into the end zone, and it's probably partially due to the O-line, partially due to, the injuries sustained in the receiving room. But when McCaffrey is trying to run it up the middle, there is nowhere to go. There is nowhere to go. The 49ers, 4 weeks into the season, have yet to score a rushing touchdown. Very not great. Some sloppy football all around. And you can't look at this team looking back and say, it was this play that caused the 49ers to lose, or it was this guy, or it was this, that. It was an all-around team effort to lose this football game. Four turnovers. Four turnovers. You lose the turnover battle 4-0. You don't deserve to win. Two interceptions and two fumbles. Brock Purdy having thrown two interceptions and having one fumble, the other fumble coming from tight end Luke Farrell. Ridiculous. In no world should you have four turnovers and expect to win the football game. I get it, the Jacksonville Jaguars defense is really good. I'm not here to discredit the Jaguars defense. They have, 3+ turnovers in every game this week now? Spectacular. That's great. That shouldn't happen with this 49ers team, with how they're schemed, with the talent that they have, with their quarterback getting paid $50+ million. Shouldn't happen. The 49ers defensively did look all right. Fred Warner caused a fumble. Of course, didn't execute, didn't jump on it, but it's all good. At least you have that there. Still no interceptions on the season for this team. And with this young secondary, sure, maybe it's okay. But Fred Warner I think he's dropped an interception like every game. It's just been in his hands. It's tough to put the blame on him because he is so good. He is by far the best defender, by far the best player maybe in general on this team. So it's hard to say Fred Warner's got to catch those. You love to see him catch those, and typically he makes those plays, but he usually ends up making up for it. Upton Stout had an interception, and it was a very clean one, and it would have came in a very clutch part of the game, but it was called back from a ghost PI call. And I'm not here to blame the refs and complain that they made the Niners lose this game, but that PI call was pretty ridiculous, and it did. It was a pretty game-changing play. But let's move on. Let's talk about the offense. The offense was bad, point blank. Bad Purdy game. Brock Purdy coming back from that turf toe injury, and I really feel like he rushed himself back. I don't think that Shanahan would have made Purdy play this game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that the offense was rolling with Mac Jones, and I'm not here to cause no quarterback controversy. I just think that Purdy, going into a short week, playing on Thursday night, that would have been a more important game to bring him back rather than this AFC, out of conference game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Regardless, you lost the game. I don't think that Mac Jones would have played any better than Brock Purdy. Purdy went 22 for 38, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns. If you stop there, great, but the 2 interceptions and a fumble really were killer. The first one, just playing hero ball. He just too much hero ball all game, really. He has some 2 checkdowns open, and he throws it to CMC, and though it was a good throw, and it did technically bobble off of CMC's hands into Devin Lloyd, who, boy, he's having a heck of a season. It did technically, bobble off of CMC. It goes down in the stat sheet as Brock Purdy. Again, not a bad throw, but you just want to see him be a little safer with that football. There was like 3-4 Jaguars defenders around Christian McCaffrey. I get it. The hero ball works. It's just in this situation, you're putting that ball in harm's way. You do expect McCaffrey to catch that football, and McCaffrey should catch that football. It's just in hindsight, of course, which is tough to blame him in hindsight. Kyle Juszczyk was open underneath. You have a lot of guys open underneath him. But the thing that makes it tougher is it was a constant pattern with Brock Purdy skipping the check down and going, over the middle. And it most likely either landed in a turnover, a drop, or a bad throw. So that's what hurt this team a lot. Just a lot of misreads. And when he did take the check down, it always seemed like it was too late. The guys really didn't have time to get upfield and make a move at all. When he did go to the check down, there was already a defender closing in. So just not a great look, not a great Purdy game. And listen, I get it. Every quarterback has their bad games, but you can't help but think the fact that Mac Jones, who knows what he would have done. I know Mac Jones is also beat up and he has a knee injury going on, but Purdy was clearly not 100% healthy. He really wasn't able to use his athleticism and get outside of the pocket and make those hero ball throws. And so I think that probably plays a part into it. I think it was a bad move for him to step in and play. And of course, today, as I'm recording this Monday, I'm getting this out a little bit late, he's dealing with some toe soreness, and he's up in the air for Thursday night against the Rams. So just a ridiculous poor management on Purdy's part, really. I know he's a competitor and he wants to get out there and he wants to battle with his boys, but you just have to be smarter. Coming into a short week, coming off of an injury, you want to take it easy, man. So just not a great Purdy game. Every quarterback has their bad games. But I thought 2 interceptions is tough. And he now has 16 interceptions in his past 17 games. He started off as such a safe quarterback. And that's what made him different from Garoppolo. He wouldn't put the ball in harm's way. Now he's kind of trying to do too much. Purdy has to go back to his ways. Whether it's Purdy, whether it's Shanahan, something has changed in this offense, and something has to change in this offense. Speaking of what's changed in this offense, Christian McCaffrey and the run game is virtually non-existent. McCaffrey had 17 for 49 yards, and he really hasn't gone, past 50, 60 yards this season. You want to see McCaffrey explode, and you want to see that burst. He just doesn't have it anymore. I feel like he's not damaged goods per se, because he's still such a threat in the receiving game. He is our leading receiver right now. 6 receptions, 92 yards, and a touchdown. I would love to see McCaffrey out wide. Just put him at receiver, dang it. Put him in the slot. We could use the body out there as a receiver. And you can have Brian Robinson back there. Let's see Isaac Guerrero get some work in the backfield. Sorry, my camera ran out of storage. But as I was saying, let's see McCaffrey out wide as an actual receiver and put somebody else in the backfield, especially Isaac Guerrero. He has that, 4.3 speed? He ran an insane 40-yard dash. Let's see him get some carries and get some work. Because, frankly, this offense is missing that explosive run game. McCaffrey, as talented as he is, he's just not exploding into the gaps like he used to. And that's no knock on CMC. It's just those injuries catching up on him. It's those lower leg injuries. He's moving a little slower. He doesn't have that burst speed. Who does? Isaac Guerrero. Even Brian Robinson. He had himself 5 carries against the Jaguars. And how many yards did B-Rob have? B-Rob had 21 yards. He was averaging 4.2 carry. That's pretty good. I would love to see B-Rob get more carries than 5. McCaffrey is somehow, some way the healthiest person on this offense. And he's a better receiver than he is a running back at this point, which is not a bad thing. Still good. We still use receivers, But yeah, I would love to see that. McCaffrey in the slot, B-Rob or Guerrero in the backfield. The run game just isn't there. It just has to be more creative. And I hope that Shanahan can figure that out. It feels like the run game hasn't been there in quite a minute. But in the receiving game, Again, McCaffrey stepping up. Jake Tongas stepping up with Kittle's absence. He had himself a nice game. He had himself 3 receptions, 58 yards, and he found the end zone for a touchdown. Ricky Pearsall, 4 receptions, 46 yards. Unfortunately, he did get hurt also with a PCL injury. He just landed hard on his knee. Unfortunate, just the injury bug coming back to bite as always. Nothing new, nothing that we don't expect already. And Jawan Jennings, he had some big catches. He did have some drops, but he had 2 catches of 24 yards and a clutch 2-point conversion, where he basically sacrificed his ribs for the team. He went up, and you know how lengthy he is. He went up, and his ribs are just wide open for the 2 Jaguars defenders to sandwich him in between. That was tough to see, but hopefully he's all good for Thursday. I really want to see more Demarcus Robinson in the mix. I know it was his first game back, but he had himself one catch for 20 yards. I would really love to see him be in there more, so hopefully as the weeks progress. Who I don't want to see much more of is Kendrick Bourne. Mostly a lie. He had himself three drops, though, which is not great for a guy like KB, who was this reliable guy that, you know, you thought you can kind of depend on when nothing else is open. Oh, there's KB. Let's toss it his way. 3 drops, and some of them were pretty crucial. You know, on third downs, he had 1 third down where he was wide open, drops it, and that led to the Jaguars touchdown. So that's a 7-point turnaround drop right there. So that was not great. 6 total drops for the team. Some of them coming from CMC, who's like the best back, you know, one of which turned into the interception. So just not great offense all in all. I don't know what was up with the boys on Sunday. They were just, they came out tired or something. They didn't feel like they wanted to play football. And the offensive line, honestly, the left side, which we thought was pretty dependable with Trent Williams and Connor Colby, the rookie, they were getting pretty manhandled. The Jaguars ran some insane stunts, and Josh Hines-Allen was, you know, rushing Purdy. But the entire O-line is to blame. You know, they weren't blocking much. Even with Trayvon Walker not playing a lot of snaps, the Jaguars' defense was just looking great against the 49ers offense. You got to tip the hat to Jacksonville's defense. But let's talk about the Niners' defense. As I mentioned, Fred Warner is still the best player on this defense and maybe the entire team. Him and D. Winters, they're the highlights. You know, they make watching 49er football a little more enjoyable on Sundays. They are just all over the place. They're giving 110 effort every single play, even on quarterback kneels. If you saw Fred Warner trying to jump over the line, draw a fumble, you know, that 0.0001%, that it comes loose. Could change the game. Soft coverage secondary was a theme in the first half, it looked like. It was kind of giving me some Wilkes and Sorensen vibes. I'm not too sure why they were giving up so much stuff underneath. It was kind of annoying, and the Jaguars were able to kind of chip down the field. Demo Lenore gave up 29 yards. Not too crazy, but, you know, more than he typically does. Darrell Luter filling in for Renardo Green gave up 11, and Upton Stout gave up 8. And, of course, the Stout interception that was called back. Another big thing was the run defense. It just wasn't there. Travis Etienne ran all over this team. 124 yards and a touchdown. He had himself a 50-plus yarder. And so they were just running down our throats, hitting the quick stuff underneath, hitting the easy stuff. Trevor Lawrence looked pretty good. That's what Jacksonville wants to see out of their franchise quarterback. India, that was just not great. But the secondary wasn't the worst thing in the world. Definitely wasn't to blame for the loss. One of the biggest things, the defensive line, of course, with no Nick Bosa. The big question was, how will they perform? Well, they performed pretty poorly. 5 pressures total. No quarterback hits. That's the first time since 2015. You know, Bryce Huff, I love him, and I think that he got himself 2 pressures, but he's just not going to strike fear into the opposing team's offensive lines, unfortunately. I think that he's a good edge, too. He's a good complement to somebody else who takes all the attention away. Bryce Huff can be sneaky and get in there. Michael Williams, you know, he's a rookie, so it's hard to expect much of him, but, you know, he was a borderline top 10 pick, so you do want to see him get a sack sometime throughout the season. Despite being more of a run stuffer, he's still got to get after the guy. You know, he's still got to get after the quarterback. At this point, you have to make a move. You can't sit on your hands and expect this D-line to pick it up. You have to make some sort of move, whether it be big or small. I'm talking a guy like Trey Hendrickson is probably the dream. He's probably going to be the most expensive. A 1-year rental from Hendrickson, probably going to cost you, a second-round pick. If they'll take a third, though, I think that you have to bring him to the Bay. Some smaller additions, could be Jalen Phillip or Bradley Chubb. Despite the injury history that this team has and those players has, I think it's worth the risk, frankly. Kayvon Thibodeau would be a guy that I would love to see on this team. A lot of these young guys that are kind of nearing the edge of their rookie contract, going into their second contract, bring them in. Chris Kosaric and them boys could make these guys earn a little extra million on their second contract with whoever that is. Whoever they sign probably is not going to be a long-term deal, but it would be, a 1-year rental. We want to make a push this season. We need somebody to cause some pressure. So they absolutely have to make a move sooner rather than later, preferably. But I do get, wanting to gauge where you're at near the trade deadline. So you see if you want to be buyers or if it's just, all right, we got to look towards the off season. So, you would love to get a guy in sooner, but we'll see kind of how that goes. But regardless what you do, you have to make a move. I still like the guys, but it's just not enough to compete. Got to show some love to the Jacksonville Jaguars because they played a heck of a game. They were a way tougher team than I was expecting. I thought it should be an easy win, but man, they came to play. They played hard. They played complimentary football. Trevor Lawrence was dishing it down. We saw Brian Thomas Jr. get in the mix. We saw Travis Hunter on both sides, mostly on offense, though I barely saw him on defense, frankly. And their defense was just spectacular. Devin Lloyd was looking like a young Fred Warner out there. So that's pretty cool. I love to see him in this breakout season. And, yeah, he had himself 2 interceptions on the day. So, Devin Lloyd, have a day. Niners just did not come to play. This should have been a great, fun game. Unfortunately, the Niners lose by 5 points. And frankly, the Niners defense in the second half, going back to the Niners, they did step it up. They only allowed 3 points. A lot of the points coming off of turnovers and such. That's just kind of out of their control. Then they have that punt return. Special teams, wake up. I don't know what it is with this team in special teams, never having a reliable unit. But at least Eddie Pinheiro didn't miss a kick. So you got to look at the silver linings there. Big Eddie P was 2 for 2. You love to see it. All in all, just a rough game. You can't expect to win when you're giving the ball up 4 times. Brock Purdy, his name was called to lead this team down. He tries climbing up the pocket. He's got guys coming at all angles, basically. And Eric Armstead, former Niner, gets his long arms in there, wraps up, punches that ball out, and that's all she wrote. So very unfortunate way to lose the ball. Offense has to pick it up for the most part. Let's get Guerrero in the mix. The worst case scenario, if he doesn't look good, hey, you just take him out. You just have to change something up. Defense still legit, but they can only hold teams for so long. The offense has to put up some points, especially with the defense not creating turnovers. They're kind of just creating stops. They're creating stops. But you would love to see some interceptions, some recovered fumbles, all that good stuff. And of course, the injury bug still looms. Brock Purdy with his toe, and Pearsall with his PCL, and Jennings with a rib injury. You hope to see these guys ready to go on Thursday against the Los Angeles Rams, of course, division rival coming off of a short week. The Rams coming off of a big win against a really good Indianapolis Colts. The Niners are coming off of this loss. This could be a statement win for the team, very easily. Their toughest game thus far. If you win, you're 3-0 in the division, starting off strong. You can kind of scrap the Jacksonville game. If you lose, questions are going to be asked. Fingers are going to be pointed. Morale is going to be low. Thursday night with all eyes on you. Who are you going to be? How are you going to step up? Who is going to step up? It's going to be a heck of a game, folks. This is the beginning of a tough stretch. Okay, so you got Rams on Thursday. Guess what? Then you take on the red-hot Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then the Falcons on Sunday Night Football, another primetime game. And then the Texans. A tough stretch. Get healthy. You hope to see Kittle back out there soon. You hope to see Ayuk out there soon. Malik Mustafa, Purdy to heal up, Pearsall to heal up, Jennings to heal up. You hope to see those guys 100%. And hey, let's make a move. I think we got to make a video covering that. We got to make a video covering the defensive end moves that the 49ers could and should make. But all right, folks, that's going to wrap this episode. A little bit down on the energy, of course. It took the loss. You can't be too happy. But regardless, the Niners win or lose, I hope you all have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Gold Rush Podcast. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and a comment. I love interacting with y'all. While you're down there, take a look at the other social medias, the Instagram, the TikTok, the Twitter, etc. I will catch y'all in the next one, whether it be recapping or previewing against the Rams, or be talking about a potential defensive line move. Folks, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a good one. Peace out.